Hello, beautiful people. Today is 31st of May. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Guys, today we will take a quote from B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman of Drafting Committee of the Constitution. He says, history shows that where ethics and economics come in conflict, victory is always with economics. Vested interests have never been known to have willingly divested themselves unless there was a sufficient force to compel them. Now, see into the present times, there are laborer rights which are being taken by the government onto the pretext of appeals made by the capitalist class. Now, the thing is that on one hand, there are ethics and the morality that what should be the rights, what should be the life of standard, what ought to be the condition of the laborers. On other hand, there is the failing economics. And in this particular light, even many state governments has passed the legislation. So what has happened in this situation also? Economics won in front of ethics. And there was no plea from the CII or the FICCI or the capitalist class that some regard to the labor rights should also be given. Therefore, guys, we need a strong framework of directive principle of state policy, a proactive judiciary, and a concerning government to uphold the balance and to see that these kind of things don't happen too often. Otherwise, people will lose faith into the democracy. Now, friends, this link you can use into your GS paper number 4 ethics as well as in your GS paper number 2, which talks about the constitutional values. And now let's start with today's analysis. Friends, this is the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper, and the first news pertains to the lockdown 5 or the unlock 1 as government is calling it. Now, friends, though number of cases of COVID-19 in India has increased to 1,81,000 and the active cases being more than 89,000, government is proceeding with the unlocking 1.0. The reason being, first of all, the economic losses have been immense and now the capacity of state is not there to absorb the losses. Secondly, frustration into the masses have been increasing to the exorbitant level as the unemployment rates have gone alarmingly high. Thirdly, the fixed cost of the corporates have risen to such an extent that now they can't function without filing into the bankruptcy. So, urgent easing out is needed to be done. Fourthly, it has been seen into the world countries that the number of cases peak up to a point and then start to fall down. And India might now also be seeing the period around the peaking. So the cases will be falling into the coming number of days. So right now it is the time that we can go with the unlock 1.0. And then fifthly, it has been understood by the people as well as agencies that the entire life cannot be spent into the lockdown and the virus has become the part of life. So therefore the life has to be adopted with precautions so that slowly we can come to the normal activities. And with this thinking line, certain directions have been issued. So from June 1, there will be no more classification of red, orange, and green zone, and the lockdown will be full fledgedly contained into the containment zones only. Secondly, now the permit will not be needed for the interstate movement of the vehicles, and movement outside the state will also be allowed. Now, guys, as the part of unlocking 1.0, it has been said that the malls, restaurant, religious places will be open into the all the parts except the containment zone from June 8. Then in July, the decision will be taken to open the educational institutions, school, colleges, etc. And if the ground condition will be so, then these things could be done. However, meanwhile, other activities such as bar, gymnasium, entertainment park, cinema halls, metro, international travel will not be allowed. And then the night curfew will still be there, but the time has been changed from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Earlier it was from 7 to 7. Then, guys, face mask, social distancing, etc. has to be done. And even into the long term, the activities such as work from home needs to be promoted. Now, all these advisories have been given by the Ministry of Home Affairs under the provisions of the Disaster Management Act 2005. There we had seen that how by using section 6 the government can give certain advisories. But friends, at the end, state government has been given the enough flexibilities that seeing their own domestic conditions, they can change a little bit into these things. For example, if they don't want into certain areas that the malls should not open from the 8th June, they can say so. And guys, as we talk into the phase 2, the educational institutions will open up. In meanwhile, the consultation with the parents, teachers, and stakeholders will be done, that if that thing can be done or not. So guys, this is all about this particular thing, and now we'll move to the next. So friends, now we have a news on page number 2 where the tree transplantation policy has been prepared by the Delhi government, and soon the cabinet will give its approval to the policy. Now, guys, first of all, what is this all about? So, tree transplantation means that if you are cutting a tree or felling a tree at one place, then you need to transplant the same tree at a new location where it will be suitable for it. Now, guys, here it is being said that any developmental project where trees are being felled, then 80% of such trees are needed to be transplanted at the different locations. Now, guys, right now what happens? Right now there is a rule of 1 is to 10. It means that if any tree will be felled, for that particular tree, 10 new saplings are to be planted. So if 100 trees are being felled, then 1,000 saplings have to be planted at some other location. However, into the new policy, 80 original trees are to be planted at some new location. Moreover, the rule of 1 is to 10 will still continue for the transplanted trees also. I will give you one example. Suppose there was a land where some development has to be carried. Now there are 100 trees. So, and all the trees were cutted, then it means that 80 such trees are to be planted at some new location, and for these 80 trees also 10 new trees are to be planted. So it means that 80 these trees plus 800 trees are to be planted. Now a question comes that why it is to be done. Then guys, the answer is pretty much simple. First of all, there is no substitute for the trees and the ecological services that they are giving. Secondly, those saplings are being planted, but these tiny saplings are not substitute for the whole grown tree. They can't accommodate the bird species and they can't render the same ecological services. Thirdly, guys, there are the sustainable developmental goals, and under the SDG goal number 15, there is a pledge that countries need to conserve the life on the land, which includes the trees. So, all these things are being done. Now a question comes that what next. So friends, there have been certain problems into this particular regard. Number one, the entire procedure of transplantation is very costly, and it has been said that a full grown tree can take 1 to 3 lakh rupees for the transplantation, and when hundreds of trees are to be transplantation, then it will become very much heavy. Secondly, the trees which have the tap root system, they will be much difficult to translocate because their roots are so much scattered that evacuation will render the root system unfunctional. And thirdly, the survival rate is very much less here, and less than 50% survival rate is there. So after incurring so much money, if the probability of growing at some other place is not there, then the exercise could be useless. And guys, fourthly, there is one more reason that these transplantation is successful only for the tolerant trees such as people tree. However, for trees such as sal, jhilmil, the transplantation is not that much successful because they are not that much tolerant to the new environment and to the new soil. And then fifthly, the thing is that when the tree is to be transplanted, all the canopy, the branches, etc., they have to be cleared, and the growing or reaching to the original canopy can take more than 10 years. So anyhow, the ecological services that it was giving at that particular place might not be achieved at a new location also. Now a question comes that what could be the way forward. So number one, in place of tree transplantation, the focus should be given onto the tree preservation and tree accommodation. Now into the developmental project, the existing trees should not be uprooted, rather development should take such a course that they are still there. After that, there is a clause into the new policy, that is a site tree report. Here it is being said that a feasibility assessment will be carried, that whether the transplantation will be successful or not, and if it is not successful, then into the present premises only the tree will be located. Now guys, this is a very good thing into the existing policy, but many a times such type of things are not implemented onto the ground. So therefore adequate attention should be given that such things are being implemented if the new policy comes. Now, friends, today there are not much news. However, we will take an attachment from the PIB. This is not important for our exam, but certain references are given here which we could use into the answer writing for the mains. First of all, it has mentioned a keyword. You might have also heard about this: reform, perform, and transform. So, guys, whenever you are writing answers onto the good governance in GS number 2, please use these type of keywords as they are very much appreciated by UPSC. So we will use it for the policy implementation. Secondly, the name of DARPG, that is Department of Administrative Reform and Public Grievances, has been mentioned. So friends, this is an important department for the administrative reforms that are coming into the governance practices, etc. So please remember this particular thing. And DARPG is under the Ministry of Personal Public Grievance and Pensions. So you might have heard about National E-Governance Plan. You might have heard about E-Kranti. All these are the initiatives for the good governance, and these initiatives are spearheaded by the DARPG only. So whenever you are writing about good governance, minimum government, maximum governance, all these kind of things, DARPG is a nodal agency. So please give their reference also. Now guys, under the DARPG, CP grams has been taken, which has been mentioned here also. First of all, it stands for Centralized Public Grievance Redress and Monitoring System. Now, guys, this is a portal which has been developed in house by the NIC, that is National Informatics Center, in the year 2007. Now, guys, here the general public can raise their grievances to any of the central government or state government, their ministries, their department, and all of their portfolios also. Now, guys, there is a proper mechanism where the grievance or the complaint will follow, and the highest authority in this particular regard is the Prime Minister's office. So if your grievance is not redressed in between, then PMO can also intervene. Now there are various ways to approach this CP grabs. You can go through the web version, whereas you need to go on to www.pgportal.gov.in. Then there is also the telephonic version of this particular thing, and now the app has also been launched by the government. So guys, when we talk about effective governance or the pro people governance, then these kind of things become very much important. However, there have been certain criticisms also of this particular thing, that many a times bureaucratic red tapeism is so much there, that though complaint is registered but follow up action is not taken up, and many a times bureaucrats show very much apathy and doesn't disposes the complaint into the given time frame also. So guys, all these things you could use very much effectively in your GS paper 2 governance answers also. So this was all this. Now we'll go to next. Now friends, we are taking a news item on page number 4. Now guys, here into this news item, it is being said that the delimitation into the state of Nagaland should be postponed. Now before going on into this particular issue as why it should be postponed, first of all we will see that what exactly do we mean by the delimitation. Now, friends, Delimitation Commission is to be established under the Delimitation Act by the central government. Now, friends, in India, we follow the idea of a single member constituency. So, in both parliament as well as state legislative assembly, the members represent their constituency and one member will represent one constituency. Now, guys, these constituencies are made on the basis of a population and not the area. So every MP and MLA is representing some thousand or some lakhs of people. Now, okay. we had made the constituency and every member is representing his or own constituency. But do you think that as time will pass, obviously the population will increase in all the constituencies? Then there could also be a case that in some time population had increased so much that it is now double. So there will be a need that this particular constituency should be divided in two parts, because now as large number of people are there, we need more legislators. So this entire thing is done by the delimitation commission. But friends, one thing comes here, that by the virtue of a 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act earlier, it was said that up to 2001 there will be no change into the number of constituencies. So it was froze. Then again by 84th Constitutional Amendment Act, we had again said that no change into the number of constituencies will be made till 2026. So virtually, though population is increasing, everything is happening, but we are not changing the number of constituencies. Therefore number of MPs as well as MLAs are same. Now guys, but one thing is going on, that we are redrawing these boundaries after every delimitation. Now one more thing is also there, that in every state there are scheduled caste as well as scheduled tribe members, and they are given certain reserved seats. Now guys, as population will increase, their population will also increase, so the number of reserved seats for SC and ST, they also needs to be. So right now whenever the delimitation commission comes, it also suggests that how many seats now are to be reserved for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Now guys, the latest delimitation commission came in 2002 and it had submitted its report. Now this 2002 delimitation commission's basis was a 2001 census and was headed by the judge of a Supreme Court. And now after 2002, all the new elections were to be made onto the basis of new boundaries that has been suggested by the delimitation commission of 2002. So with this we had done that. What is the issue? Now the question comes that why Nagaland is resisting the delimitation commission and its implementation. Now friends, in Nagaland a kind of a peace process is going on, because the Nagaland is infected by the insurgency, and there are various groups, for example NSCNIM and NSCNK. That's K stands for Khaplang, IM stands for Isak Muvaya. So these are the groups which want considerable autonomy as well as creation of a greater Nagaland, that is a Nagalim. Now guys, because of insurgency, the kind of a peace process is going on between the government and these groups. Apart from them also there are certain groups, and now it is being said that until the peace process is finalized, the new delimitation should not be imposed, because there will be the severe changing into the boundary. Now, friends, since 2002, the central government is asking the Nagaland that why you are not implementing the delimitation commission recommendations, and they say that we have the problem with the 2001 census data, because the population change has not been shown properly. Then guys, 2011 census occurred. Then again the state government was asked that why you are not doing it now. Then they said that in 2011, what has happened? Our population has been shown even less than the 2001 census. And if the population of a state will be less, then there will be loss to state, because the constituencies are given on the basis of the population. So there is one more problem here. So guys, due to this particular thing, the delimitation is not going on into the Nagaland. So this is the entire thing which is going on. Now guys, there could be a thing that what next? Now what could be the way forward? So the way forward could be such that there should be the tripartite talks between the center government, state government and the insurgent groups such as NSCN. And after that, in a deliberative and consultative way, a third way should be carved out. And in all these things, there should be no scope for the populism or for the populistic gains. Only then the problem could be solved, which is very much essential given the kind of a psychological gap that exists between the mainland India and into the northeast. So these things should not be ignored and the urgent attention should be given. So friends, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to next. Now guys, here's a news onto the business page where there is a proposal to keep the draft e-commerce policy into the public domain. Now the draft means that it will be just an outline or a version and will not be the final thing, and it will be kept into the public domain so that much needed comments and feedbacks should be received so that more comprehensive policy can be made. Now when we talk about e-commerce, then it is a phenomena of 21st century where the goods are being sold and purchased without the presence of any physical market. So the e-commerce is trade and commerce via internet. Now this particular policy is suggested by the DPIIT, which stands for Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. Now guys, it is a department under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. One more thing, DPIIT was earlier known as the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, that is DIPP, and the name has been changed recently in 2019. Now after this, a next question comes that why such policy is being suggested. Now guys, in India the potential for e-commerce has been immense and there has been substantial growth. For example, in 2017 the size of e-commerce was merely $39 billion, whereas in 2020 it is expected to grow to nearly 120 billion. So this is a huge industry and the growth of nearly 51% in this particular direction is being suggested. Moreover, the number of people which are involved into the e-commerce are huge. Now guys, it is leading to a positive impact as well as a negative impact onto the society. First of all, if we see the positive impact, then guys, it is providing much convenience to the consumer, provides a better price to all the people across the different spectrums. Thirdly, it creates a new demand for the MSME products. Fourthly, as anybody can post their items, the sellers get a wider market here. Then there are negatives also. Large number of vendors and shopkeepers into the neighborhood, they are facing the loss of revenue because people are switching to the e-commerce. Now guys, in this particular direction, the brick and mortar based showrooms, they are not even now able to recover the fixed cost, which will lead to a disruption into economy. After that, there is one more problem, as these all e-commerce are operated by the giants such as Amazon, etc. Into the times to come, it might lead to a neo-imperialism by these particular actors. And fourthly, these portals or the e-commerce sites handle so much of data, and if no proper safeguards is kept, then there could be the violation of privacy also. So therefore a policy to regulate this entire sector is urgently needed. Now a question comes that what next or way forward. Now guys, as the policy draft will now be made, so the way forward should be such that the complicated questions of data collection as well as data storage should be properly dealt. Then after that, there should be adequate standards for the consumer protection in case of a certain breach by any particular seller. For example, a person orders a mobile, and if the seller ships a soap or a detergent, then there should be the proper protocols. Thirdly, now it has been seen that various substandard products are also coming onto these e-commerce sites. So various safety standards are also needed to be met for the products which are being sold online. Then fourthly, there is a huge impact onto the brick and mortar shops also. So therefore their interests are also needed to be kept into the mind before bringing any such policy. So guys, please keep all these thing into your mind with respect to the new e-commerce policy that will come. So this is all, and now we'll move to next. Now, guys, we are into the science and tech page, and here are certain science and tech related news. However, much breakthrough articles are not there, to be very frank. The articles with respect to COVID are there, so we will see them briefly. So, first of all, it has been said that can coronavirus spread through the airborne transmission of the aerosols? So, this we will be seeing here. Now, first of all, what do we understand by the aerosols? So, guys, aerosols are very fine suspended particles into the air, and because they are very fine, very small, they can be transported by air to very far away distances. The soot, fine ash, pollen, fine pollen, all these are the example of aerosols. Aerosol can be liquid also, can be solid also. Now, guys, what happens? The study has been made in which it has been said that a person who is asymptomatic or symptomatic, whenever he talks or whenever he sneezes, he spreads a large number of air droplets into the air, and these air droplets, if they will contain the RNA of SARS-CoV-2, and if that thing is inhaled by some other person, then he will become sick of coronavirus. Now, see, during the talking or sneezing, the air droplets, that is, small air droplets and the large air droplets, both are released. Now, the small air droplets are those which are less than 10 micron into the size, large are those which are 100 to 1000 micron into the size. Now, because the large are big, they tend to settle onto the ground into the less time, whereas the smaller ones have a tendency that they can be transported to the various far away distances, and then they could infect even large number of people. So therefore, guys, it becomes a little bit more problematic. However, there are certain things also that into the mean course of time, as the time passes, after 4 or 5 minutes, the intensity of the virus will come substantially lower, up to 50%. So the fear is a little bit contained into this particular respect, but still there could be transmission. Now, guys, apart from them also, the ventilation into the room plays an important role. Into a well ventilated room, the reduction of a virus into the droplets is substantial, whereas into the poorly ventilated or into non ventilated rooms, the reduction of virus is not substantial. Moreover, it happens into the longer durations of time. So, guys, this particular thing can have also an implication into the closed transports also. For example, the closed buses, AC compartments, and all these kind of things. So the theory that only up to 1 meter you need to keep the distance might not be hold true for the times to come. Now, friends, apart from this, also various references and studies have been given into this particular article, but we don't need to remember their name for our exam. And so this was all. Now we'll move to next. Now, here's one more news onto the science and tech, where a monoclonal antibody has been identified. Now, guys, first of all, this article is very much technical, and those technicalities are not needed for the general science questions that might come in GS3 or to the prelims. So, I will simplify it, and we will see as how it could be relevant for our exams only. Now, before going into the news, we will see certain key concepts. First of all, guys, there is antigen, then there is antibody. Now, antigen is a molecule which is present onto a pathogen. And now, guys, this pathogen could be virus, this pathogen could be bacteria or anything. Now, this pathogen is not good for the body. So, whenever this pathogen will take entry, now, guys, antibodies are present into the blood plasma, and they are the fighting units, or these are the weapons of our immune system. Now, as this antigen is coming, they will identify it and will bind with this antigen, and in mean course of time they will neutralize this antigen, and a person will be saved from the infectious disease. Now, guys, there can be large varieties of antibodies. In this particular direction comes the monoclonal antibodies, and these monoclonal antibodies are the ones which bind to a particular part of a pathogen or a particular part of a virus. So they are very much precise and very much oriented to one thing only. Now, if you see the structure of SARS-CoV-2 virus, then it contains these spikes which are made up of glycoproteins. Now, guys, certain monoclonal antibodies have been identified which can attack these particular structures. Now, if you are following my articles onto the coronavirus, then we had seen that the problem begins from these structures only. Now, these structures help the virus to take entry into the human cell. So basically these structures, they act as a key, whereas our human cell is a lock. So they bind it and the virus is infused into the human cell. So if we anyhow attack these particular parts, then the virus will not be able to get the entry into the cell and the problem will be reduced. Now, as I had said you that monoclonal antibodies target a specific region, and into the coronavirus they are specifically targeting these spikes, then therefore it could be very much effective into the treatment of the coronavirus also. Now, a question comes that how these antibodies have been identified. Now, guys, when earlier in 2002 there was the outbreak of SARS, at that particular time these antibodies were isolated and were frozen. Now, as the new outbreak has come, these monoclonal antibodies were tested with the antigen of coronavirus, and then these antibodies were able to bind with the antigen here, and therefore they were effective. So into the times to come, much potential can be here into this particular kind of thing also. Now please don't go much deeper than this, because then it will be not that much relevant. Now guys, this was all about today's important newspaper discussion. I hope you are liking our video. Thank you so much.